Hello everyone, I Aishwarya Agrawal from FIIB is here with our ongoing series of Know Your Faculty. As we all know, COVID has struck us really hard in the past years. Also, the organizations have to move from a different model of working, which is called the hybrid model of working. So, to discuss more upon it, we have with us Ms. Suchi Dikshit. She is the assistant professor at FIIB. She is the area chair of organizational behavior and human resources. She's also the head of learning and development department. Also, she's a great TEDx speaker as well. So, welcome ma'am, and thank you so much for giving your time for this series.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya. Happy to be with you here today.
Good, ma'am. So let's start the discussion for the same. So, ma'am, as you know, the COVID has struck us really hard. And all the things, all organizations are working from the hybrid model. So this hybrid model has come up with lots of challenges, as we all know. So I wanted to understand from you, as a manager, how can a manager make an you can say understanding or equilibrium between the people who are working from the office and the people who are working from the home?
Right. So, as you have said it correctly, the terminology that we use now, the hybrid model. Aishwarya, I would say let's just look at it even in fact when there was no hybrid also. The main crust of how you build a team as a manager lies with the trust.
Okay.
So now in fact the challenge definitely is higher, because to create that equilibrium of work from home and work from office scenario, how do you maintain that trust? So organizations have come up with not just only work from home completely or work from office completely, but as I said, hybrid model. How is it that I keep this trust intact, right? So how do you keep this trust intact? Was it there before? Has it recently shuffled? Has it recently changed? Why is it that I'm not able to trust my employee in the work from home scenario? Why is it that I'm questioning it constantly, right? So I think the fact of the matter, that's something which is not visible to my eye. I'm going to question it again and again.
True.
Right? So we need to create a system, or talking strictly in terms of human resource, policies which needs to be guided again, which needs to be put in place again, so that the new model of the hybrid structure can be accepted on both the side. I believe it is not just a problem with the manager, but you think about it from the perspective of the team members.
True.
The team members may not be able to trust the managers also, right? So it's vice versa. If you don't trust me, how can I trust you? If you're going to put a question mark on me every day, if I'm going to have to fill out my work from home sheet every single day, you're going to question me on every hour.
Exactly.
It becomes more of a task for me to do my work also. I'm mostly reporting and answering the calls, right? Just to make sure. So a lot of it goes into my behavior aspect of my manager. So that building that trust needs to be there. Actually giving you a cue over here that trust builds from communication. There's nothing which is called as over trusting or over communication. Nothing can be an over communication. You are always trying to build the gaps, the bridges, which will lead to any kind of misinformation or any kind of misinterpretation of any dialogue or policy that could happen. It is a new scenario, it is a new setup, everyone will take time. Things are coming into progress, we are developing systems. Trust needs to be there, that we are both going to think of the benefit of each other. A mutual trust has to be regained again.
Exactly.
That's how I see it at this point.
And ma'am, actually bring two very interesting points. The first was the communication between the employees. So, but still, what I would like to understand is how this collaboration could be done. Like if just suppose a team of 10 members, 5 are working from the office and the 5 are working from the home. And they're working on their own pace and the things, because everybody at home takes a little leisure and they're we'll do it little later, kar lenge kind of attitude, laid back attitude. So how do you ensure that there's a collaboration between them and there's an open communication between those two fronts as well as a manager?
Taking this, and another thing I'll tell you which is more of a problem here is something called as proximity biasness.
Okay, please elaborate a little.
Proximity biasness is like Aishwarya is here with me, I know him, right? And there is another student of mine who is at home. I meet Aishwarya every day because he is the one who comes to the classes, and there is another student who is only meeting me online.
Exactly.
My relationship in this physical world with you will develop faster as compared to a person in the online version. So
Understood.
now the competition is not just about who is better in the performance, but who is better with me in my interpersonal skills as well. With whom I have developed these interpersonal skills more. So proximity biasness, and I'm pretty sure this is something once you start to work, you will be able to see it as well. And I have heard it from our own students also that, ma'am, when I am going to the office, I'm not able to, find that comfort level that I see it with others who are there every day.
Exactly.
Company is giving me the hybrid model, but I see the disadvantage of it also, right? So it's not just the collaboration that it's like we are working in the same city, but we are working on different time zones.
Exactly.
Right?
That's very true.
So I'm a morning person, you're an evening person.
Yeah.
We are just not able to find the right time.
Exactly. So
Right?
how do you make the business of that?
So now this is where we need to have common guidelines of our working as well.
Okay.
Collaboration comes with when I'm willing to do that, right? Communication, not just about speaking, listening as well.
Okay.
My collaboration is when I care for the other person, when I'm being considerate. So there can be an example that maybe I sit at work at 11 o'clock in the night, and whatever queries I have at 1 o'clock also, I'm calling my co-workers for their assistance. Am I showing the care that I'm supposed to? Am I being considerate? Where is my empathy now?
Exactly.
Right? So these are the things. Now, being an HR person, I'll tell you, HR's responsibility comes in where they need to put into the training programs of this kind of sensitivity.
Okay.
So it is very simple that wherein we talk about diversity management, we talk about grooming people, giving them workshop, giving them sensitivity training on diversity. At the same point, I need to provide such kind of workshops with them where I am training them on the cultural aspects also. Emotional intelligence is not inbuilt.
Very
Emotional intelligence is a skill. You develop it.
Exactly.
The first step of development is awareness. I need to be aware about my behavior. Who's going to tell it to the boss? It's 2 o'clock, I cannot answer your call.
Very true.
Right?
That's
Whose job is it then? HR. HR needs to build in those hygiene factors. That this is what is acceptable, this is what is not acceptable. Your team will not come and tell you this. You need to analyze it on your own. You need to be considerate. Being a manager, you're setting examples. We always see this. I have been taught like this by my manager. So my manager calls me at 2 o'clock. So once I have to call someone, I'll also call them at 2 or 2:30 only, because I am being treated that way. Reciprocation is happening too much.
Yes.
Now that's where we need to, train them correctly, as I said. So those workshop needs to be built in. That culture needs to be ingrained.
like breaking the chain of the fact that what is being passed down, we are doing something different and moving a different tangent to.
Someone needs to
communicate better.
understand how the world has changed and how it's going to bring. If I'm going to feel that that nothing is going to change in my normal working scenario, we are wrong in that. We are just turning our back to the change then. Then if you expect me to be able to perform as good as it was earlier, it's not going to happen. I'll need to change my ways as well. I'll need to change the way it was. It's a discomfort. Definitely it is. But like everything has pros and cons, so does this.
Okay.
We are looking at work from home. Earlier it was a privilege.
Very
Now it's like a very simple norm.
It's like a second
everyone gets
nature
it,
of everyone.
right? On certain days I don't want work from home. I want to get away from my home. I want to be here. I would rather have my own space to work than no one disturbs me.
Very true.
Right? So if it has been working from office can be seen as a privilege as well. Right? So it's more about that how much am I dedicated towards my goals? How much am I able to see? Clarity of my goals is a highlight here.
Okay.
Right? We talk about individual performance affecting group performance, affecting the rewards that the group is going to receive. Do I know what the goals are? Do I have clarity of it? If every day in the morning, if I'm working from home, do I make a list of agenda? I'm doing it in the office, am I doing it for home?
Okay.
So employees have to be trained on certain aspects about how to manage their time well, on how to understand that how to make it work from home.
Okay.
Right?
Very nicely put.
It sounds good. It sounds very flowery kind of a picture. Working from home, I can sleep whenever I get the time. I can have my breakfast.
Exactly.
I'm sitting in a meeting with my camera off and I'm having my food. Right?
Very true.
That's a very normal scenario. Is it acceptable?
Yeah.
Putting the camera on in every meeting. You can develop that culture. Why am I ashamed of putting my camera on? We understand and we respect that everyone comes from different background. That's all right. We're not going to judge you. Creating that psychologically safe environment for our own co-workers. Where is that stem from? Definitely HR. Exactly. HR needs to take the initiative of starting these kinds of activities and these programs. Yes, you will find people who will be eager to become a part of it. You will find people who will resist it. Right? But we'll need to be patient.
Okay.
And patience is also what we need in our culture. We need to be patient with each other. Learning takes time, right? So it is not something which we cannot deal with, but yes, definitely it will take time for us.
Understood. Thank you, ma'am. And moving to a little different topic, ma'am. As you were talking about the HRs and what the responsibilities of HRs are, so there's one more responsibility of engaging the employees. And being in hybrid mode, it's really a little bit challenging about how to engage those employees together. So any suggestions or any activities that you could suggest our upcoming or budding HRs that could help them in the future as well?
Aishwarya, you come from the background of HR yourself. So the more important thing is, does the HR believes that engagement activities work or not? Right? My conviction will be visible in my success of it. Right? So if I'm convinced, I need to put myself in the place of the employee, and I need to put myself in the place of the manager also. Right? It's not easy. As I said, proximity biasness comes in. Physical environment has a different meaning. And with an online engagement, in the last 1.5 years or so, you will see YouTube being flooded with online games, online Zoom meeting games.
Okay, Zoom meeting games.
Yes.
Okay.
Why is it that we are trying to build those in?
Very
For
true.
a simple reason that everyone is trying some way or the other to make it work. Yes, I love my job. I love to work. I like the people also. But where are those people now? I'm sitting at home. They are sitting at their home. One of the very important aspect, I think that the pandemic has taught us, which is that the biggest coping mechanism for us is our social support. And that social support is the co-workers that we work with. When they are not there to support us, they are in the same situation every day, every time. They are going through the same battles that we are on a daily basis. They understand the situation in the best possible manner. When we don't have that support, it becomes difficult for us to cope. Yes, your family is there. Your friends are there whom you might be talking on a regular basis, but they are not your co-workers. There is no substitute for that.
Very rightly put, ma'am. Very rightly put.
I need to find different excuses, to get in touch with them. Earlier it was the 12 hours I'm spending them with them. Why do I have to talk, speak with them again after work? But now I'm not spending that time. You have taken away my support. You have taken away my coping mechanism. I need time to develop it. I need a substitute for it.
It's the personal touch that you explained earlier.
Exactly.
We need the personal touch to...
We are human beings.
Exactly.
Always been quoted as social animals.
Social animals.
How can we run away from
Exactly,
it?
completely.
We need to socialize some way or the other. I strongly believe in this, no matter what kind of employee that you say. I've seen people right in front of me. They'll say, I don't need engagement. But when they are pulled into it, you can see drastic change in their motivations.
Okay.
You will see drastic change in their mood. You will see them participating. You will see they groom themselves better. They try to do better because of that social acknowledgement that comes from them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So while you're sitting in a meeting, definitely you're wearing a tie, you're wearing a coat. and maybe you're sitting in your shorts otherwise, right?
Very true.
That might be one of the situations.
I've given interviews like this when just the shorts at bottom maximum.
So it works, right?
Exactly.
But why is it that with my office people that I'm still, because I care. I really care how they view me. It means that I want to engage. I want acceptance. So it has to come from somewhere or the other.
Understood. Thank you so much, ma'am, on this. So I was thinking of incorporating another topic about the same and getting your views about it, because there's one more very burning topic that is going into the HR fraternity, that is inclusion of women in the workplace. So I also believe that it's a major topic for you as well. So let's start with the best question that I have, which is, in your opinion, what is the current state of women employment in India?
Current state. Okay, so without making it a very boring subject and not to sound pro-women and not to, bring in that biasness of everyone who might be listening to this, but I'll tell you this, that it's real. Biasness, as in against the negative biasness, it's real. We might find an excuse that this job is not meant for this gender, right? Because of the challenges it brings. But I think with the changing mindset of this fraternity, right? I belong to this fraternity. I think with the changing mindset, we have come a long way, right? But yes, there needs to be certain laws. There needs to be a legal framework. So the legal framework is more against discrimination.
Okay.
Not for the aspect of only women that we are talking about. We are talking about diversity and inclusion.
Exactly.
Right? So earlier there was less percentage of female workers in my working environment. Now there are more. And so therefore we have a lot of rules and regulation, policies that have been brought into it. So you talk about maternity benefit, you talk about Sexual Harassment Act, they have become more compulsory. Though of course they have changed in their meaning also over a period of time. But we understand this, that with the changing demographic, right? How open is the organization towards diversity? Okay. So with diversity we say that, are we giving equal opportunity, which is our fundamental right for that matter,
exactly.
right? It's a fundamental right to be given an equal opportunity. So are we giving equal opportunity to people from different background, different religion, where whatever that they have done in their life, to be eligible for this job or not, right? That's what we mean by diversity. Exactly. And with inclusion we mean that removing the barriers so that they can be open for developing also, for those opportunities also. So I have hired the person, like for example, I have hired someone from minority, right? But hiring is not where it stops. Are you able to provide them with the right kind of opportunity so that they can grow in their career also? Now the growth in the career is not just dependent only in making the policy and forgetting about it. It is also about implementation, exactly. It is also about the environment in which they are, the people that I'm working with. Have I done something to change their perspective? Do they look at that person with an equal openness with which I have hired them? And so therefore it's not just about making policy of hiring, it is also about providing with the right kind of policies of how they are going to grow. So something that we call as that performance appraisal is like dependent upon performance. How much is it? If given an opportunity between A and B, and in like a situation where A and B are at the same level of the performance, who and what decides who gets a promotion, right? So again, the biasness comes into it, or have I made policies very clear, right? So my policies of the organization, which are not something which are written on stone, they need to evolve. They need to be developed further. They need to change when I see the changing environment, right? So now that I have more females working in my organization, do I have something which is unbiased?
Like kind of enforcing and maintaining the equity that has been created.
Exactly. right? So the glass ceiling we keep referring to about,
Okay.
right? So the glass ceiling is, I think, not just for women, but for bringing in diversity also, right? So gender is just one of the things of diversity. There are so many other aspects of it. There is no law as such been made, but yes, there are laws which refer to different things.
But I think there's a law about the 50-50 percentage of the female and the male employees that is considered a good for the corporates. There's something like that, I believe, right?
There's no law for it.
Okay.
There might be theories of it. There might be research that they would have done for it, though. But there's no law, right?
Okay.
When it becomes a law, then it's a whole new game, right? Then the implementation is a completely different thing, right? So here we are not talking about law.
Okay.
Here we are talking about that policy bana di, and let's see if the policy works or not. But then again, the implementation part comes in.
The biggest problem in India is the implementation.
I'll not go ahead and say it for the India,
Okay.
but I'll say it for
Organizations.
For the organization.
Okay.
That any organization, the implementation. See, with the implementation comes with a responsibility. Implementation is about follow-ups.
Yeah.
How well are we going to do these follow-ups? I have made the policy, someone else has to execute it, it's going to hand it over to the third person. How seriously are they taking their job? How much are we able to control also? If we see that the policy is not being followed, what are the repercussions of it? Are there any repercussions? So we say that the person has deviated from the desired behavior. What is the repercussion of it? We have that hot stove rule that we go by, right? So someone who has not followed it, what is the immediate action? And immediate action is not something that you will only show by example. Immediate action is something that you will first make a procedure, put it in the employee handbook so that the employee is aware of it also.
Okay, so starting from the beginning, not just at a random point of time when the act is committed, we are coming up with something.
We are predictable. We are not doing anything spontaneously.
Okay.
Policies are not about spontaneity. Policies are made on something that we have observed. Now we have to put it in the system and bring it into place. And consistently, we are going to follow it.
Understood.
That's important for us.
Understood.
Right?
So that's really thoughtful, insightful, and food for thought for many of the viewers that might be viewing this, because that has sparked a lot of thoughts, at least inside me, which if I had the time, I would have most definitely discussed with you as well. So I'm moving towards a different topic, which I already have for the same diversion. Like as you said, inclusion, diversity. There's also a third thing that comes to my mind, which is equity, right? So you said equal wages, you said all about the inclusion, how the things could be done and how the diversity has to be maintained. But we can see that many companies are doing some activities, like we have Unilever, who has come up with a few some social programs that help the women to come into the front. And one company, I'm forgetting the name, they have developed an app, complete app, which could help them to showcase their skills over there and get hired with the company. And one more company has something where they have set out some book clubs or some reading clubs where all the women can gather together and get those things accommodated. So do you believe that these kind of programs that the company are working on will be beneficial for the women to come in the industry as well?
I'll agree that it would encourage, and it's more about I think all of this that you're stating here is more about women empowerment, right? But is it converted into actual benefit to the women, which is tangible? So when I say this, I'm saying that is it affecting their salary? Is it affecting the tangible part of their salary or not? Is it, like, for example, I'll agree to this, that they would be taking these initiatives because women of that particular section of the society might need some support, some kind of encouragement that is required. So yes, you empower them, you teach them, you bring them together, you support them, you provide them with the resources so that they can grow, right? And the programs that you're quoting are for the community,
exactly,
right? That we are saying. See, action speaks louder than words. So if we are going to say that I'm doing this thing for the community, but what are the policies that are being seen inside my company? Is there any female manager at a higher level position in that organization? Right? So I can easily say it's based on performance. When there will be, the position will be given.
Understood.
But your company has been, it has been in this form for a very long period of time that they have existed. So you look at Fortune 500 companies, a very small percentage would come down to be who have had women leaders.
Very true.
So are we saying that women are not capable? So I'll not go ahead and make such a bold statement about it, but I'm again questioning the intention of it, right? There's a very simple thing that we look at when we are measuring the performance of people. When you measure, measurement is with the purpose of rewarding. I did a good work, therefore there's a reward for you, there's an increment for you, there's a bonus, there's an incentive, and all the things that can be given out to the employee, available for the employee, right? Something called as distributive justice, right? The distribution of the rewards dependent upon their performance. That distribution is not just monetary, it is also dependent upon their career growth, right? So I'm not ready to give you these positions. I'm not ready to bring you forward onto a position of decision making, right? That becomes an issue then. So I would just say that two very important things. If we talk about distributive justice, there's a procedural justice. My system, my procedure of measuring your performance need to be clear, consistent, and then based on that procedure, the results need to be rewarded consistently.
Understood.
Right? So everything comes down to be, yes, you have done this. Now within your organization, I have been appreciated. Yes, you've done a very well job. You've been there. But how are you compensating to me? Is my salary equivalent to my counter gender? Is it or is it not? Right? Do they have more bargaining power as compared to me? Right? So I'll not get into the debate which has been going on forever. Right? So not to waste your time on that, but definitely women empowerment helps there, because women need to, like I said, awareness. I need to be aware I have a right. If I don't know I have a right, how will I exercise it?
Exactly.
Right? So that's where the learning starts. That's where the beginning is, definitely.
Okay. So thank you so much, ma'am. That's all the information that I wanted as of the now. And I really appreciate the pointers that you gave about the trust and the proximity biasness and how we can train them to remove those proximity biases, and then how the gender equality can be implemented and the empowerment of the women that needs to be done. So I also believe in that. Thank you so much for your time and lots of food for thought that you have given for each and every one of our viewers.
Thank you, Aishwarya.
Thank you
so much.
I hope you all guys enjoyed the discussion, and that's it from our side. Thank you.